10% is very easy to find. You take the decimal, and when we have a number and we don't see a decimal, it's at the end, and we're moving it one place over. So 10% of 120 would be 12. If I'm looking to find 25%, it means 25 out of 100. So if I take this, 25 is 1/4 of 100. If I'm looking for a fourth of this number, if I break this and divide it by 4, I'm going to get 30. So when we're looking to find 25%, we're basically taking 1/4 of the quantity. 50% is like half. So half of 120 is 60. Another relationship I can see is 25% to get to 50% would be times 2. So 30 times 2 is 60. I could even see 10% times 5. So 12 times 5 is 60. For 5%, I'm going to go back to this. If I know that 10% is 12, then 5% is half, dividing by 2. So that means half of 12 is 6. So 5% would be 6. So knowing that, when I see a percentage like this, I can still do this mental math. One way I'm thinking about it is I could say that this is 25% plus 10% is 35%. So if I take to try and 25%, a fourth of this, that's 20. If I take 10% of 80, that's 8. So if I put these together, 35% is 28. I could see this as 10% plus 10% plus 10% plus 5%. All of that gives me 35%. 10% is 8. If 10% is 8, 5% is half, that would be 4. If I add these up, 24 plus 4, 28. So I'm able to do a lot of this math mentally quicker than I could with a calculator. So if we look in the book on page 148, our first problem says a flooring company sells laminate, hardwood, and ceramic tile. For each different type of flooring, there is a certain amount of waste material. The table shows the amount of waste material for each type of flooring. 10%, 20%, 25%. This means that when an order is placed, the amount of estimated waste material must be added to the order. For example, if an order is placed for 200 square feet of laminate, then I need 1/10 more laminate must be ordered to make sure that there's enough floor to complete the job. So now I'm going to try to figure this out with some numbers. How much laminate flooring would be needed for a room of 120 square feet? I need to order an extra 1/10, so 1/10 of 120. When you see of in math, that indicates multiplication. So I have 1/10 of times 120, and I'm going to make that look like a fraction. And we've done some simplification with fractions, and I see 10 goes into 10 once, 10 goes into 120 12 times, so I get 12. Now this is the amount extra that I need. So I need 120 square feet plus another 12, so I need 132 square feet of laminate if I want to actually cover 120 square feet. So now if I'm going to do the same thing with 200 square feet of laminate, I want 1/10 of 200, so it's 1/10 times 200 over 1. I'm going to simplify. 10 goes in 10 once, 10 goes into 200 20 times. I get 20. This is the extra that I need. So I needed 200, and I need to get 20 extra. So altogether, I need to order 220 square feet. So I could do the same thing for here. I'm going to look down into this box. It says, remember that to determine a percent of a number, you can multiply just as you do to calculate a fraction of a number. So we did this with fractions. To determine 25% of 140, you can write the percent as a fraction or as a decimal. So they took 25%, and they're first going to write it as a decimal. That's the same thing as it's 25 out of 100, 25 hundredths. So if you multiply these two, we get 35. They're also showing us that we can change this to a fraction. 25% is 25 per 100, 25 over 100. Or they're showing me they simplified this to get 1/4. So now they're doing 1/4 of means multiply by 140. So here I would put the 1 under here, and they're simplifying. They still get 35. So this is the end of the mini lesson.